Last month, I broke an exclusive on a high-end Nikon camera that's coming with a global shutter sensor. Today, I have an update on the timeline and a few specifications. Is this new Nikon the Z9H or the ZX that some have been talking about? Well, I'll answer these questions in this video. But first, please take a second to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps this channel grow, and it keeps you informed on the latest camera gear, such as this new Nikon Pro level camera. And just in case you need a recap, there's no Nikon Pro level camera that's scheduled anytime soon. Now, there has been some speculation that we could see the Nikon Z9 Mark II announced in the fourth quarter, say the end of October, but we haven't received any validation about this. So what about that Pro camera that I talked about a month ago that's supposed to have a global shutter sensor? Well, according to the same source that broke last month's story, Nikon's global shutter camera is actually still in the lab and won't be field tested until early 2026. My source hasn't provided the name of this new pro-level camera that has a global shutter sensor. But could it be? Could it actually be called the Nikon Z9H? A camera that Nikon Rumors told us about all the way back in the fourth quarter of 2023. Now, to be fair to Nikon Rumors, they did preface this article about the Nikon ZH saying, here are some very early and unconfirmed rumors about the new Nikon Z high-speed camera that's expected to be announced in time for the 2024 Olympics. As you're well aware, the 2024 Olympics, have come and passed. In fact, I was so preoccupied with the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, I completely forgot about them. And the Nikon Z9H, well, we haven't heard any information about that camera. So that information is completely stale, and I wouldn't believe it. So you might be wondering, well, what about the Nikon ZX, a camera that we've been hearing about lately that Digital Camera World actually spoke about? And what they said was, well, this is a pretty wild camera rumor, but potentially a pretty exciting one. It's being reported that Nikon is working on the first consumer camera with a global shutter sensor, the Nikon ZX. Digital Camera World goes on to say that it will be a direct competitor to the Canon EOS R3 and Sony A9 III. When I think consumer camera, I'm thinking something like a Canon 70D, a Nikon Z50, I'm thinking the Z series, the ZV series of Sony vlogging cameras. And of course they're saying it's being reported. Well, reported by whom? They don't say. So it seems like this article in Digital Camera World is a lot of hearsay, but there are a lot of people talking about the Nikon ZX. Again, not a lot of information. Maybe that's the name that's being applied to this global shutter sensor camera that I talked about last month. So what about specifications? Did my source happen to mention anything? Well, just a couple. My source confirmed that this new pro-level Nikon camera with a global shutter sensor is going to have a resolution up between 20 and 21 megapixels, and it's a full-frame sensor not intended to be a DX model. And unfortunately, that's it for specifications, but you really shouldn't be surprised, with my source telling me that the timeline is looking like it's going to be 2026, and I'm not thinking January. We're probably a minimum of a year out, and it could be a year and a half. And whenever we start getting information that far ahead of a potential announcement, things can change. Things can change a lot. In fact, we can even get the camera completely canceled. We've seen this time and time again. I just did an interview piece with Joshua Holko and Craig Blair, wildlife photographers, and they've actually seen lenses and cameras in hand that actually got canceled at the last minute. So I wouldn't get too excited at this point, other than Nikon is working on a global shutter sensor camera that's aimed at pros, probably wildlife and sports photographers. And I'd be willing to even throw in to say that Canon is also probably working on a global shutter sensored camera that would be aimed at pros, wildlife, and sports photographers. Personally, I think that the R3 Mark II, that would be a good place to try out this global shutter sensor. Although still, I wonder how that would be positioned in relation to the R1. But what Nikon's working on here could be pretty exciting. I discount what Digital Camera World said about the global shutter sensor camera that Nikon's working on that's comparable to the A9 III is in any way comparable to the R3. The R3, despite being a very good and solid camera, doesn't have a global shutter sensor in it. The only comparable we have here is to the A9 III. But that's all I have at this point, folks. As soon as I have more information, I'll be sure to let you know. So don't forget to subscribe and choose all notifications. And if you want to get a sneak peek behind the scenes of this channel and the things I do and the review work I do, well, then you might want to consider being a member and choose the mid-tier member, where I post a lot of video, unpolished, about behind the scenes. Anyhow, so thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, a great week, and we'll see you again soon. And it's beautiful outside where I am right now. It's 50 degrees or 10 degrees Celsius. And it's supposed to be going up to 15, which is, I don't know, maybe 65. It's starting to feel really spring-like. So I hope wherever you are, spring is starting to, well, spring, and things are looking nice. Tag me and let me know some of the photos that you've been able to capture this spring. I think there's a little bit of sunlight left, thanks to that time change. Should I take out the 200 to 800 or the 100 to 500? I'll let you know a little bit later on. Anyhow, so thanks so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, great night, great week, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.